Welcome back to Horrible. Keep that government off my Medicare. Of course, Medicare is a government program, but that's a cry you hear a lot of over the years. But some new polls show that it's more true today than ever, people's attitudes. A new Marist poll out today asked if people support cutting Medicare and Medicaid to deal with the big government deficit right now. Well, 92% of Democrats say no way, hands off. 73% of Republicans say leave Medicare alone. 75% of independents say leave it alone. And get this, the people that come out against government spending, and they really do care about it, 70% of Tea Partiers say leave it alone. Don't cut Medicare or Medicaid. But yet these two programs add up to about 20% of the federal budget. That's $1 out of $5, obviously, spent by the government. How can President Obama and Republicans ever cut a deal if the public is so unwilling to even consider talking about that as part of a deal? Susan Page is the Washington Bureau Chief for USA Today. She's read by everybody across the country. And Jonathan Alter is an MSNBC political analyst and one swell historian. I want to start with Susan, and I want to get to this question. It seems to me that nobody really has a solution. Even that poll says modest cuts in Medicare and modest increases in taxes. No. People don't want to get hurt again. They're paying big gas taxes. They just paid their taxes. They don't want to get hurt again.
And, you know, it's a political advantage for President Obama, but it's a policy problem, because the fact is we're going to have to do something about Medicare. You can't deal with the exploding deficit.
But politically, was he smart to play possum on this?
Yeah, absolutely. And get through the re-election campaign, perhaps, with this.
John, I'm amazed by this. Not amazed by it, but it's always amazing. I like numbers that are clear-cut. I don't like 50-50 numbers. Number of Democrats who are willing to cut Medicare and Medicaid, what do you think it is? 5%. Yeah. That's it. No, and he knew this months ago, because the president's guys, you know, his pollsters working way ahead of this poll. What do you make of the way he's handled this politically and putting Ryan out there to bake?
Very, very skillful in the short term. I think the challenge for him is that people believe two contradictory things. They don't want to cut Medicare, but they do want to cut the deficit. So he has to appeal to that part of them, too, with a credible deficit reduction plan that maintains his ability to take a whack at these Republicans who voted for the Ryan bill. The word about that bill that passed the House last week has not yet filtered down to the public. So people don't yet understand that Republicans last week in the House voted not to reform Medicare, not to, you know, have a little nip and tuck here and there, but to end Medicare, to turn it into a voucher program where instead of, you know, knowing where the check is coming from, seniors within 10 years would have to shop on the open market like everybody else, which, you know, they don't want to do and they shouldn't have to do, be at the tender, not so tender mercies of the insurance companies.
At 78 years old, do you want to be buying health insurance when you're sick? Let's take a look at the Tea Party numbers. The Washington Post ABC poll found that only 43% of Tea Parties are strong supporters, majority of them against it, and 30% of general Tea Parties want to cut Medicare. But you look at these numbers on the other side, 69% of Tea Parties against these cuts in Medicare. You know, it's so interesting. I was thinking, what do you think of this, the Tea Partiers?
Well, it means that they're just like everybody else, right? They do want a smaller government. They want cuts in federal spending. The deficit and the debt are the things that really sparked the Tea Party movement, big government. But when it comes down to a program that just about every family in America benefits from, they don't want anything done to it.
Well, the only cuts that they seem to want are the cuts for the poor people. And you have a modest majority, 52. You're laughing because you know how right-wingers think. Well, they don't mind cutting the poor people who get Medicaid.
But what's so interesting
look at
about
that, 52%, a modest majority of Tea Party, strong, zealous Tea Party people have brought themselves to willingness to cut poor people. That doesn't surprise me, but your thoughts?
Well, I think what's interesting about that is they assume that those are poor people who are not seniors. That I don't know who they think those poor people are.
Well, you know, a lot of them are long-term care.
A lot of them are their parents. Because the way it works in this country is that, when you get old, you draw down your net worth so that you're eligible for Medicaid, and it will pay for the nursing home. So if the Ryan plan, what's now the Republican plan, if that were to become the law of the land and you block granted Medicaid, which would essentially gut Medicaid under this Republican program, what you would have is large numbers of seniors who would move from the nursing home into their children's home, into the den. You know, maybe one of their kids' bedrooms, because there would not be the money anymore to have them have nursing home care. So these are some of the implications of this bill that was passed in this ideological frenzy that people have not yet fully understood. And I think once the details filter down, the implications of the Ryan plan filter down, you're going to see real hell to pay for Republicans in swing districts. A lot of them slit their own throats by voting for this bill.
And you know, Jonathan says people aren't yet aware about all the details in the Ryan plan. Which
Seniors are, I think.
But they will when they're in a re-election campaign.
Right.
I think a 65-year-old person, people are aware of the fact that the reason they like Medicare, and everybody likes it, Republican, right, left, and centers on it, likes it, because it means for the first time in your life, somebody's paying the bills for you, and you can't afford to pay them when you get older.
And it was remarkable that the Republicans in the House held together so much behind. I was surprised that there weren't more people peeling off, because they will be facing ads on this.
Right.
Here's President Obama last week on Paul Ryan's plan. Here's the president. One last word here from him.
It says that 10 years from now, if you're a 65-year-old who's eligible for Medicare, you should have to pay nearly $6,400 more than you would today. It says instead of guaranteed health care, you will get a voucher. And if that voucher isn't worth enough to buy the insurance that's available in the open marketplace, well, tough luck. You're on your own. Put simply, it ends Medicare as we know.
John, you said a minute ago that nobody's out there telling them about the Republican plan. I just saw this guy doing it. His name's Obama. He's out there. He's the troubadour explaining this issue.
He did, but if the party as a whole cannot wrap the Ryan plan around the necks of those Republicans who voted for it, and we'll see whether it comes up for a vote in the Senate. It's a big decision Harry Reid has to make. If they can't do that, they should find another line of work, Chris.
I agree.
This is a big, fat one over the middle of the plate for the Democratic Party.
Actually, it's old politics. I went through the whole thing with Tip O'Neill. This is what they used to fight about. They're still fighting about it. Thank you very much, Susan Bates. Thank you, Jonathan Alder, both of you, for joining us.